backlash to Lydia Thorpe's hate-filled tirade against the elderly cancer-stricken king has attracted all manner of opinion and headlines over the last fortnight. According to Nikki Gemmell's piece in The Weekend Australian, when females speak out, they're punished, it's almost entirely about her gender. But in my opinion, the response to Thorpe's latest outburst has absolutely nothing to do with her gender and everything to do with her character. Nikki, it's time to move beyond the victimhood narrative. Thorpe is precisely where she is today because she is a woman, and not just a woman, but one who identifies more with her Gunnai, Gunditjmara and Djab Wurrung heritage than her white ancestry, a choice that her father has publicly criticised.
I think she's a very racist person against white people. She doesn't acknowledge any of her white side. Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed in her, the way she's been carrying on lately.
The truth is, Thorpe's attention-seeking performances had already drawn public ire, and that's exactly what she intends. She knows these explosive outbursts do little to advance the Indigenous cause or foster support for a treaty. In fact, while they might impress the far left, they only alienate the average person. So, why does she keep doing it? One answer might be found in my recent interview with Nigel Biggar, an author, Anglican priest, and Regius Professor of Moral and Pastoral Theology at Oxford. In an honest conversation about colonialism and Australia's history with Nigel Biggar, we discuss how many left-wing activists are not driven by the causes they claim, but rather by their own narcissistic motivations. And I would know. I was swept up in far-left activism during my last years of high school and at university, which I discuss in the podcast. I recall the thrill of policing people's language and ideas and actually seeing it work before my eyes as people back down. There's absolutely no question that good people are susceptible to public shaming, which I carried out on a far smaller scale than Lydia's against the king. I don't doubt that Lydia wants good things for Aboriginal people and for women. However, her actions reveal that, like many politicians, her primary goal is advancing her own fame or infamy. For a narcissist, infamy is better than obscurity. As Oscar Wilde writes through his character Dorian Gray, the archetypal narcissist, there is only one thing in the world worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about at all. With an outburst every month or so, Lydia is obviously hooked on the feeling. Adolescence and early adulthood are naturally narcissistic stages of life as one explores their identity and seeks belonging, even validation. It took me years of maturity and distance from the university echo chambers for me to move beyond that phase. At 51, Lydia is still stuck in that phase, and it's no surprise. Building a career on two immutable characteristics she didn't even earn, her race and her sex, has proved very successful. Lydia wouldn't be this successful if it weren't for social media. Like Will Connolly, or Egg Boy, the then 17-year-old social justice warrior who went viral for physically assaulting the former Australian Senator, Fraser Anning, or the Just Stop Oil activist who defaced works of art, Lydia knows that inflammatory behaviour will go viral on TikTok, sparking people to Google her name. It's also worth noting that Will Connolly still has a huge Instagram following over 5 years after his assault on Anning, an assault which garnered him the support of Magda Szubanski and a spot on Australian Story.
Then I looked around and I saw families who'd bringing their kids to listen to this man. And then he started saying things like, there were already 7 Muslims in Parliament. So I've walked up and then I've cracked the egg. And then got tackled to the ground by 5 men.
It will be the same for Lydia, who has built a personal brand of being an angry Indigenous woman, perhaps the opposite of fellow Indigenous female politician Jacinta Price, who rejects identity politics. But the ubiquity of identity politics and social media enables narcissistic personalities to thrive by simply broadcasting their identity and recording their provocations. But as Nigel Biggar puts it,
and revolutionaries are very good at putting stuff down, not so good at putting stuff back up again.
So while Lydia hurls abuse at King Charles and calls for the abolition of colonial Australia, she might consider that it is precisely the colonisation of Australia by the British, with all its innumerable faults, that enabled her to achieve the social and financial power that she's achieved as a black woman. And as I'm learning from Robert Hughes's book, The Fatal Shore, life for Aboriginal women before British colonisation was far from idyllic. Thank you so much for watching this essay. It was written by me, Zoe Booth, and published today, the 4th of November, in The Australian. If you'd like to read it, I'll link it in the description. Thanks again.